What's going on, people? What's going on? In Motion Football, tapping in. My name is Alam. I'm here to talk to you guys about Eagles Patriots. So, for you guys who may be familiar with this channel, may not be familiar with this channel, this is a football channel as a whole. I will be talking about the league and just the sport in general. But that being said, I am a longtime Eagles fan. I'm a huge Eagles fan. So, a lot of the content here will be Eagles related. So, I do want to make sure that the Eagles fans here know that every game will be talked about extensively. Every issue will be covered um, pretty detailed. So this is what we're going to be doing on this channel. The chat is something that I keep tapped in with. So anybody watching this live, feel free to get your thoughts in the chat. I do interact with everybody as I can. And yeah, this is going to be a weekly thing. You're going to be seeing this a lot. Um, Eagles Patriots week one. Fascinating matchup. A lot of things to talk about. Before I get into it, make sure if you're watching this live or on replay that you press that like button, subscribe to the channel. These things help with channel growth on YouTube. So that's what I'm going to need from you guys. The content is free. Pay the rent in the form of the like button. So with no further delays, we're going to get right into it. So let's talk about what's going to happen when we have the ball and the Patriots are playing defense. So first thing to keep in mind is this is Jalen Hurts' first time playing Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is a coach, defensive coach that is known for bothering young quarterbacks, and a coach that's known for disguising the defense he calls, making it really hard to read what's going on. Um, the thing with this matchup is that it's week one. So what that means is that the team has probably spent like a month preparing for this matchup, and that's on both sides. So Bill Belichick has had a long time to figure out what he thinks is the most effective thing to do against the Eagles offense, and that's what we will be seeing. Couple important things to keep in mind here. Matt Patricia, a longtime member of the Patriots defensive staff, is no longer a part of the Patriots and is a part of the Eagles. So he will probably have quite a bit to say about what's going to go on. And there's nobody that can read Belichick's mind, but he's had access to a lot of his thoughts. So he'll probably have some kind of an indication of what Belichick is thinking. How much we'll see, but that's definitely going to happen. Other things to keep in mind, Belichick signed Jalen Rager. So Jalen Rager, one of the worst football players I've seen. There is no chance that New England figured, hey, guess what? That guy's a talented guy. Let's take a chance on his talent. No, he's there to talk about what he knows about the Eagles offense. So it's fascinating, but both sides have their own kind of informants for what the other side is doing. So I think you'll see some high level tactics in this game, and the schemes will be impressive on both sides. So that's what I'll say from a tactical standpoint. As for what's going to happen on a football field, you look at the Patriots defense and you see a unit that I think like they have some guys on paper, but they like, as Leon is saying here, they have their weaknesses. So the run defense has been shaky for the last 2 years, as he said. The Patriots, I think, have had some very good cover corners even during the last 2 years, but I don't think that they've had the front seven that's lived up to the billing as far as the Patriots of old would go. That being said, I think they have young players up front that are getting older. So like Josh Uchi, I believe, is going into year two. I believe he was pretty promising last year, and he's going to get better. So you could see a very good edge rusher there. Obviously, they have Judon on the other side. They have cover guys. Jack Jones, I don't think will be playing because he's hurt, but they still have Christian Gonzalez. They still have their guy in the slot. Actually, I'll pull up the depth chart real quick to actually just avoid having to remember names off memory. I'll get this thrown on the screen right now. So yeah, Jack Jones won't be playing, but Jonathan Jones, Gonzalez, and Marcus Jones will be playing, right? There's enough effective pieces there. Duggar and Adrian Phillips, again, like they're good scheme fits for the defense. Judon and is Uchi his backup on paper? That's interesting. But yeah, Keon White, rookie that I think probably will be an effective player for them. If anything, The reason that the Patriots defense, if anything, like if it's not a good run defense, it's probably the guys in the middle here. It's probably this right here. Lawrence Guy, his name is Guy. He's literally just a guy. Devon Gotcha, decent role player, but this is not enough to be dominant. The linebackers as well, Jawan Bentley and Jelani Tavai, again, like the words I would use are competent. I don't think that they're dominant or standout players. So that's what you should look at and identify as the strength of the Patriots defense. It would be, in my opinion, pass rush, like because of their edge rushers, and coverage, not quite run defense. If you look at the Eagles offense as a unit, right? We have amazing receivers on the outside. We have a very good offensive line. We have running backs that do a job, and then we have a quarterback that brings the whole thing together, right? I think important thing to keep in mind with this game, Belichick's defenses historically have been very effective against pocket passers, but running quarterbacks have given his defenses some headaches. Jalen Hurts is one of those players. He's a running quarterback. He's a player that I think is the exact kind of player that Belichick hadn't had to deal with for years and years and years, and is now having to try to figure out how to play against. So that's something that I think goes in the Eagles' favor. Another thing to keep in mind, I saw the tweet. I'll actually just pull up the tweet so to properly source the information. Brett Coleman, Twitter. He had a fascinating tweet about this game with respect to the coverages that the Patriots play. So I'll scroll through this quickly. What is this? All right. He probably tweeted a lot the last couple of days. I'll find this tweet, but it's essentially about how the fact that here it is. The Eagles' worst offensive game last season was the Colts of all teams, 17 total points, just over 300 total yards. Only 2 red zone appearances, had 2 turnovers. Colts played cover 1 at an absurdly high 53% of the time, and it worked. Sneaky matchup here. So the point there is that from a schematic standpoint, the Patriots run a defense similar to the Colts, which had a very effective day against the Eagles offense. Now, I think the point there and the reason why that would be effective is that when you play cover 1, you're probably going to have a very effective defense against like the short and intermediate parts of the field, and the weakness of the defense would be deep routes on the from the outside receivers, which the Eagles do have the ability to do. But the key thing there is that deep routes take time to develop. So if the pass rush can be disruptive in the early parts of downs, that can be an effective strategy because all your bases are covered as a defense. A key thing here is that the Patriots, I think, also have a similar setup to where they could run that kind of a scheme. And the pass rushers, Judon, Uchi, Keon White, they could be effective, and that could stop Hurts from taking the time he needs for the go routes to develop from the outside receivers. So that's why I honestly think it will be Jalen Hurts' legs that dictate the game for us, because I think that that's going to be a thing that we know isn't really factored in a lot of what Belichick does defensively, because he's been coaching for a long time and he's not used to this wave of mobile quarterbacks. And that's a tried and tested thing. Like I said, I think if Jalen Hurts doesn't run the ball, the Patriots have a chance to have an effective day defensively against our passing attack, particularly. But I think Jalen will run the ball, and I think that will dictate changes in what New England do. And I think, if anything, that will then open up passing down the field. But it's crucial that happens. Now, to address the last thing, which is Leon's point here about the run defense, I think that'll be ultimately something that works for us. Our offensive line is very good. They're particularly good in run blocking. And the situation for us this year is that we have a variety of running backs, which we could sit here and talk about who's good at what or who's better than who. But the key thing is we have guys that are going to be able to keep each other fresh. So I think we could very well play a lot of Gainwell and Swift in the first 2 quarters, and then boom, out of halftime against a defense that's starting to tire, Rashad Penny, right? Rashad Penny is a player that has some injury concerns, but when he's been healthy, he's been very effective. you want to maybe help mitigate some of those injury concerns, have him running against the tired defense and have him like give him the advantage to kind of be the person that's running away from people, running around people as the fresh player, right? That's something that I think is interesting, and that's something that, given our offensive line, we could do effectively. Now, the intel from training camp is that DeAndre Swift is essentially getting a lot of work as a wide receiver, not literally as in he's going to be playing receiver, but he's going to be the running back we throw the ball to a lot. And the way we look at it is Kenny Gainwell and Rashad Penny are our between the tackles runners. Penny's looked as our big play guy. Gainwell is looked at as our like consistent, gonna get you, 3, 4, 5 yards kind of a guy. So we have variety, we have numbers, we have options, we have the quarterback that can run. So ultimately, I think between our running backs and our quarterback, it's running the football that will have to happen first, and then that'll force changes from New England, which will then open up the passing game. Then I think as a whole, we have a chance to have a very good game offensively. But an important thing to keep in mind is that we might not do that. And the reason is because a philosophy that has been shared for the Eagles offense is that the whole idea of you throw the ball to score points and then run the ball to win the game. As in, we throw the ball early to get a lead, and then we ice the game by running the ball. And that's a formula I saw the Eagles do a lot last year. We did a lot of throwing of the football early and then a lot of running of the football late. If we show up with that same formula, it might not work the same because, as I've already expressed, there's a chance that New England's defense against our passing game, if we don't dictate changes, it could be effective. So I think we need to pivot from our natural tendency of how we start games in order to be effective against this defense. And that involves running the ball a lot, dictating changes, and then seeing what happens off that. So that's where I'm at in terms of that half of the game. So when the Eagles have the ball, that's my overall stance on things. I know a couple people just joined the stream right now. Shout out to everybody that's in here. 6 people are in here. If you missed what that part of things, definitely go back and watch what I had to say. I do think the Eagles will have success, but I do think they have to get it right tactically. So now let's look at the other side of the game. Let's look at what happens when the Patriots have the ball offensively up against the Eagles defense. So if you click this video and you saw the thumbnail is of Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Why did I put those two players in the thumbnail? Because I think they're the two most important components of our defense for this matchup. Why? Because I think New England's game plan will be running the ball as often as they can. I think that if they have the opportunity to, they will run the ball 40 times. Now, here's why I say that. I say that because, one, the weakest part of the Eagles defense is the run defense by far, right? 2, it's a proven game plan against us. The Washington Commanders beat us by effectively running the ball for 3 to 4 yards on every single play. The Washington Commanders were not out here gashing us with 8 to 9 yard runs and really just like punishing us. No, they're just getting 3 to 4 yards consistently, occasional play action, occasional quarterback scramble, and just ball control. I think they had 25 minutes time of possession in the first half, kept the Eagles offense on the field for 5 minutes. That's the most proven way of beating the Eagles. The Chiefs in the Super Bowl did have a lot of success running the ball. Not as in they ran for like 200 yards, but they only threw for like 180 yards, right? They basically just, when they needed to, they held on to the ball. When they needed to play, they threw the ball. But I think that it's proven on tape. And obviously, Bellichik is a smart enough guy to where without that, he probably would have discovered it himself. But I think the game plan will be very obvious. They should not put Mac Jones back there to throw the ball on our defense. That would go wrong because of a bunch of different reasons. Leon says the O-line is ass, can't pass protect. See, I was just going to get to this. So the Patriots O-line is banged up. They have injuries. So the right tackle, Riley Reef, is not playing, so Calvin Anderson is a backup. And then Onwenu and Strange are both going to play, but they're dealing with injuries, right? So they're banged up up front. The Eagles' main strength is their pass rush. We had 70 sacks last year, and there's a chance that you could say we got better. The only downgrade might be Hargrave to Jalen Carter, and that's Jalen Carter. So there's a chance that that's not a downgrade because Jalen Carter is immensely talented. So this is the thing, people. To make Mac Jones sit back and have to throw with his old banged up O-line protecting against our pass rush, but then the other side of it is that you're putting up the Patriots receivers against our DBs. Like Darius Slay and James Bradbury had good seasons last year, right? Great seasons at certain points, just good seasons at other points, or just a good season at other points, up and down, but generally good players, right? I don't think the Patriots have the receivers to test them and succeed. So no parts of that game plan make sense, and no parts of that game plan work. So like if the Patriots show up with three wide receivers in like traditional passing sets, I think they'll have a long day. I think they need to run the ball, right? If their offensive line is not functioning at a high level because they're banged up, they need to put two tight ends on the field, and I think that'll have a different effect. That's good as well because a thing to keep in mind, right? I think the Eagles, when they're in nickel defenses, they'll be taking one of their linebackers off the field. So the starting linebackers are Nakobe Dean, Zach Cunningham. We don't know much about Nakobe Dean, but we think he's good because of how he played at Georgia and from obviously the limited snaps he played for the Eagles last year, right? What we do know about Zach Cunningham is that he's very good against the run and suspect against the pass. So in order to keep my point there is that when we go to a nickel defense, we're probably taking Cunningham off the field and putting a smaller player, right? It'll make us effective against the pass, probably not so effective against the run. But the thing is like if you run against our weaker if you run against our like nickel defenses from the Patriots standpoint, you're running with three receivers on the field, I don't think the offensive line for the Patriots can block well enough for that to work. What the Patriots, obviously, I think they need to do is they need to have two tight ends on the field. They need as many blockers as they can. They need to try to run the ball and get 2, 3, 4, 5 yards consistently, not crazy yards, just consistently get positive runs. And then what they need to do with the two tight ends is they need to then try to attack Cunningham with Gesicki or Hunter Henry, because Cunningham I don't think can be relied on in pass defense. He'll definitely be a liability. He would get put on tight ends and running backs. So yeah, like in the screen game to Ramondre Stevenson, you want to try to get at Cunningham. In the play action to Gesicki and Hunter Henry, you want to get at Cunningham. So that's the thing between running the ball and setting up Zach Cunningham in the in the passing game. The aggressive running strategy has to be what New England does, right? So from the Eagles' defensive standpoint, everything now becomes dependent on how well do Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis play, because Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are the two players that I think are going to be the best run defenders on the Eagles defense. I don't look at Fletcher Cox at his age as a particularly good run defender. I don't think he'll be on the field in a lot of obvious running downs. Milton Williams is good, but not as good as the other two. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis will be the guys whose responsibility is making sure that the Patriots don't run the ball. So if they don't have a good game, if the Patriots offensive line gets the better of them, then yeah, we could find ourselves in a bit of a situation where the Patriots are keeping hold of the ball, are keeping Jalen Hurts off the field, are moving the ball up and down, are keeping the Patriots defense fresh, right? Keeping them on the sidelines resting, right? All these different little things that could build momentum the way the Commanders did against us. So then if the Eagles now get on the field for the few times that they're on the field and press it and, force the passing game, I already talked about how if we pass the ball before we establish the run, we might run into some troubles. There's a pretty big domino effect that'll happen based on how well New England can run the football, right? They have Zeke, a player that I don't think is a particularly good player anymore, but I think he's still good for a short yardage role, and that's what they're going to need from him in this game. So if Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis can shut down the Patriots running game, I think that the ripple effect or the domino effect will result in a lot of advantages for the Eagles, and this game could get ugly. If they can't stop the run and the Patriots can effectively run the game, there's a chance the Eagles could play themselves into this being a close game. I have the Eagles winning regardless, but I did want to speak about the little nuances in this game that I think make it interesting. Now, the last part that I want to speak about is Matt Patricia. So again, Matt Patricia, like I mentioned already, on the Eagles staff, longtime defensive assistant on the Patriots defense. But the interesting part is he was the offensive coordinator last year for some stupid reason. It's one of Belichick's worst decisions. He was the offensive coordinator. So not only does he have a lot of information and intel about the Patriots defense, he had a close working relationship with Mac Jones, with Ramondre Stevenson, with Hunter Henry, with Kendrick Bourne, with Devontae Parker. A lot of this Patriots offensive personnel, he was the guy coordinating all of it last year. And he did a terrible job. But there's probably quite a bit he knows about their tendencies, what they like and what they don't like, what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with. The relationship between a quarterback and his play caller is a relationship where a lot of information is shared. So given that Matt Patricia doesn't actually have a huge role in our tactics, but he'll be able to share so much information about New England's, is definitely something that I think is relevant here. Like, I think the Eagles are going to know exactly what bothers Mac Jones. And this is part of the reason, again, why I think the ball can't be in his hands in this game. No way. It has to be in the running back's hands. And again, that's why I put Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis on the thumbnail of this video, because I think they're ultimately going to be the guys that decide, is this a close game or is it not? Because again, while I still have the Eagles winning the game and I feel confident, in a close football game, anything can happen. There is an element of randomness that happens in these games. The Patriots are playing a home opener. They're going to have a raucous crowd. It's Brady Day, so the crowd is going to be as turnt as the crowd could possibly be. If you're the Eagles, you don't want this to be a close game for no reason. You don't want to keep this hanging in the balance into the fourth quarter because random shit happens. Yes, exactly. He needs a masterclass. He needs to, again, the blueprint of just running the ball a lot and it working is simple, right? But the small, subtle pivots from that blueprint are going to be important. When are you calling play actions? When are you taking a deep shot? These are all things you're going to do probably not that often. So the timing of when you do them is going to be very important, right? So another thing to keep in mind, right? The Eagles have two new safeties this year. Reed Blankenship, who's going to be a second-year player, who I think actually played very well last year. I'm not really worried about him. But then probably Justin Evans, a guy who doesn't have much of an established resume. So again, are there going to be opportunities to maybe get at our safeties? Probably. Can you get a deep shot going at the right time? Speaking about running the football a lot, right? That tends to draw safeties closer and closer to the box, closer and closer to the box. If you can sustain long drives of running the football, you might set something up of somebody leaking down the field as the safeties are coming up to deal with the running game. So again, there's two mistakes that the Eagles can make to keep this game close that will, again, put it in the balance of luck, right? The two mistakes are if we throw the ball without establishing the run, and if we can't stop the run without stacking the box, right? Those are the two things. If we just go about those things sensibly, I think we're in a very good shape. We're a very talented team. We have a very good roster, and New England is still figuring their roster out. Our roster is a lot better than theirs, but we're going up against one of the best coaches in the history of sports in a home game, a home opener, when they're retiring the greatest player in the history of the NFL's number or honoring him or whatever they're doing. Just don't keep this close for no reason is my whole thing. And I feel like I've outlined the things. Yeah, so Leon, so basically we lost both our safeties, right? Now, for what it's worth, our safeties being good aren't a big part of our team, because last year our safeties were Marcus Epps, who's bang average as a player, in my opinion, right? And then the other guy was CJGJ, Gardner Johnson, who was really good, but mind you, he missed half the season, right? The half season that he missed, I don't really think we actually missed him that much Reed Blankenship, the player that's going to be a full-time player this year, he played in his spot, and I think our defensive unit as a whole, it functioned the same. Now, Gardner Johnson got a lot of interceptions that Blankenship didn't. Gardner Johnson had 6 interceptions, Blankenship only had 1. But we functioned as a unit the same with Blankenship. So that's my thing of like, I think Blankenship is going to come in and be decent the way he was last year and we'll be fine. But the other guy, it's a question mark. We don't know that he's going to be competent. Um, so we'll see, right? But that could be the safety could be a difficult spot. Um, yeah, so this is true, that comment. So if you don't get sacks, the defense is sus. Oh, 100%. See, but this is the thing, Leon, that's what happened in the Super Bowl, right? We got no sacks in the Super Bowl. Our whole defensive philosophy is about our defensive line being elite and everything else functioning with that being the case. If you look at how we've invested in our team, we cut corners at the linebacker position and we cut corners at the safety position in order to stack the defensive line. And the whole idea is, if that unit dominates, a lot of other people's jobs are easier. The defensive line is the most impactful part of the defense. If they can be a dominant unit with depth that can keep the guys fresh, then you don't need to be good in other places. That's very much how we've constructed the defense. When that falls apart, our linebackers and our safeties get exposed. It happened in the Super Bowl when we didn't get a sack. It happened against the Commanders when they kept us, when they ran the ball on us. And again, like, you can't pressure the quarterback when they're running the ball at you. Yeah, our running defense last year was good when Jordan Davis was healthy. Then he got hurt and it was bad. And then we signed Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph, and it got better. But our key, so this is the key thing, right? For people watching this, I'll pull up the Eagles depth chart to illustrate my point here. Eagles. So basically, the way our defense is set up, you have the front seven has basically five defensive linemen. So one defensive lineman, and then these are the other 4. Wow, that's ugly. But yeah, so Hassan Reddick, and then Sweat, Davis, Cox, and Graham. That's 5 defensive line, right? That's our base defense. In our base defense, we have with the nose tackle in the middle, which is Jordan Davis, right? When we were in our base defense last year, whoever was playing, we were very good against the run. When we were out of our base defense, and what happens then is we take the nose tackle out, we take the run stuffer in the middle, we take him off the field, and we put a cornerback on the field. When we did that, right, Fletcher Cox got smoked in run defense, right? Javon Hargrave was playing, smoked in run defense. Hassan Reddick, very good player, but he's very small, so he would get smoked in running situations. And basically, when we took that run stuffer from the middle of the line off the field to play a corner, teams could run on us with ease. Dallas figured this out when they played us in week 5, when they were down 20. And because they had Cooper Rush, just even though they were down 20, they still couldn't throw the ball. So they were running against, again, our nickel defense, because we're approaching the game like we're up 20. Who cares about like short passing game? Let's just limit the big plays. So we're playing the pass, we're playing big plays. And they just ran it on us like up and down the field. They got 2 touchdowns, 2 drives where they were getting 5 to 6 yards on every run. Ever since that moment, teams figured out they could run on our nickel defense, right? So, couple things to keep in mind here. Why did we have to play Cox and Hargrave in our nickel defense? We couldn't play Jordan Davis because as a rookie, he had no pass rushing ability. He was exclusively a run stuffer. That's it, right? So he couldn't play on a 4-man front. He could only play in a 5-man front as the run stuffer. This year, as a second-year player, he's worked on his pass rushing game. He's worked on his body to be a better pass rusher. He has some pass rushing ability now, right? So the whole idea is this year, when we play our nickel defense, we should be able to play, again, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, 2 players that should be elite against the run and then respectable as pass rushers. That's why I put them on the thumbnail, because they're a very big part of this game. There's a chance that we might have our nickel defense on the field because we get a touchdown on the first two. Like we got a couple touchdowns early. Now we're guarding against the pass. Can those guys play the run? And then just generally, if it's not like that, and if the Patriots come out with two tight ends, like I mentioned, because I think that there's a multiple reasons the Patriots should play with two tight ends on the football field a lot in this game. If they play two tight ends, we're going to play our base defense. Can they then get the running game going just because they have a large number of blockers, right? Because again, our whole thing is like our linebackers are not that good. I think they'll be fine. Like I think they'll be good. They won't be very good or elite, right? Our defensive line is meant to keep the offensive linemen from getting to the linebackers because our linebackers are small. If you're, however average your offensive linemen are, if they get past the defensive linemen to the linebackers, they're going to smoke the linebackers, right? The interior of our defensive line is very important for us this year. I think Bill O'Brien will go with the three wide receiver set and try to run that ball that way with a sprinkle of RPO. Yeah, no, that would make sense. See, it's just the thing of like this is something we're gonna see this year, Leon, because against three wide receiver sets, when we'd put our nickel defense on the field, you could run on Hargrave and Cox all day. I don't think teams will have the same success against Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis this year. So, but we're going to see. Again, this is something we don't have any factual information about. It's purely theory. We're going to see it on a football field on Sunday. As an Eagles fan, I'm very excited to just learn more about my team. But this is true. This is what I'm saying. There are things that tactically we have to make sure we get right in this game because if we don't, we could leave it to chance. And stupid shit happens in football. Like, look at the Chiefs yesterday. They lost the game because they left it to chance and kept the game close. They did better than Detroit in the game, but a ball went off Tony's hands and it went into another Brian Branch's hands and he ran it back for 6. That's the reason they lost the game. Stupid shit like that is possible if you leave the game close. When you're better than a team, you should be blowing them out so that you don't leave things to chance. And all I'm saying is that there's a potential for this game to be left to chance because we could get some things wrong. So we're going to see what happens. I'm fascinated to see to watch this game. I think, like I said, I still have us winning, but we do have to avoid certain mistakes. I'm going to wrap this stream up now. Nice 37-minute stream. Nice and easy. I talked about every little detail I could think of about this game. Again, I will be doing this for every single Eagles game going forward. Make sure you guys tune in. If you're Eagles fans, obviously a lot for you to learn here. If you guys just want to support me as fans of other teams, obviously Leon's a Patriots fan. This stream applies to him today. But yeah, I'll be talking about, like I said, the stream I did before this. I'm talking about every game in the week. So for you guys that love football, this is the place to be. I'm going to be talking about games every single week. Anybody who's in here who joined midway through the stream, make sure you check the whole stream out. It was a pretty good conversation. I was bouncing off what Leon was putting in the chat, along with my own commentary on the game. Again, if you're in here and you enjoy the content, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. These are forms of engagement that help YouTube's channels grow because YouTube's algorithm takes the videos that are being engaged with and pushes them to other people. So shout out to everybody watching. I definitely appreciate the support. I'll be doing this a lot more. Stay tapped in because a lot more content will be coming up.